Three, two, one, action. This is the Optician Show, and today I have a living legend. And usually Daniel is interviewing others, so the shoe is on the other foot today. I'm Garry Kousoulou. I only ever interview people that are exceptional. Daniel, thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you for inviting me. I am honored, sir.
We are truly the lucky ones. And for those that don't recognize Daniel, where have you been? He's probably the most recognized face in optics, with a global audience, an amazing blog. And we're going to discover an amazing life over the next half an hour, 45 minutes. Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. What do you do?
I am Daniel Feldman. I am a Colorado native. I grew up in the sporting goods and ski industry where I learned marketing, and opened up my own agency, and at one point picked up a small chain of very high-end optical retailer here in the Denver area. And he enjoyed the work that I did for him so much, he introduced me to other friends of his. And as the old L'Oreal shampoo commercial went, and so on and so on and
Talk me through those early days where when I go into an optician's, I can tell instantly this is working, this isn't. From the displays, the attitude, the way things look, I can see. You were going in there quite new with really fresh eyes. Can you take us back to that point? And how long ago was that?
Well, his store chain, which still exists today, and in fact, I still work with them. I want to say honored again to still continue working with them.
A testament to your good work.
25 years, 26 years later. It was a very renowned high-end store. Still is. All the names, and I had to learn that all the names that consumers think are so cool, turns out the product quality is not so cool. And had to learn a whole bunch of names of people who are real, craftsmen and craftswomen who pour their heart and their soul and their livelihood into making just these amazing frames. And I am still so lucky to work in this business where people have that kind of passion. So when I go back to those stores back then and had to learn this industry, but I was lucky enough to be able to bring what worked in other industries into their marketing, and luckily it worked.
Sometimes that's what makes the breakthrough. And what was the obvious things that you saw there, the improvements that you made?
Well, I know at one point they toyed with this notion of separating frames by gender.
How do you feel about that? Because there's a big chain in the UK that does that.
I would say these days, don't you dare. But I had to be a bit more diplomatic back then and express stories that I learned of fitting young men who were in between the size of boys and men in ski clothes. I could very easily take them into a woman's parka or a woman's warm-up pants. They didn't have the hips built into them. But at the moment I told them this was a lady's garment, that was it. Nope, not doing it. So you learn this lesson that most men, even to this day, if you tell them it's a woman's frame, they will immediately shy away.
And women don't have a problem with wearing a men's frame. It's weird. One of my pet hates is that the majority of the money that comes into an optician's, an office, is from the frames, and they're not merchandise. There's been no thought into the merchandising. I've seen large to small, or small to large, and darker to light colors. Have you got any views on how you ideally would merchandise a practice? Gary Gaber, he always talks about the most important when you walk into a practice, the first thing you see is a really important thing.
A lot of this depends upon the size of the store to start with. When you want to take lessons from other stores, not just optical shops, you want to take lessons from retail in general. So when you walk into a large department store, for an example, you will notice that they have a decompression area. There's an area, you walk into the store, you stop, you look around, you look left, you look right. Those bigger stores, of course, have the real estate to allow that. But even an optical shop can do that. I'll go back to the Europtics chain. When he took me around to his all his stores, and he was so proud of this mall store. They did phenomenal business. I mean, it was doing I want to say $1.5 million a year, and this is 25 years ago.
That's lovely.
But he was so proud to show me the Oakley display that was sitting in the window, and I had to say, why is it sitting up front? And he goes, well, that's what people ask for. And I said, exactly. It should be in the very back of the store. Maybe they'll make a mistake along the way as they walk back there and buy something that you are proud to sell, something you make a few bucks on, something that lasts longer, etc. And he did. He
See, now here's the thing that unites us. Optometrists, doctors, they don't think like marketeers. They're clinicians. And sometimes what's really obvious to me isn't as obvious to them. So I was in an optician's just recently and I said, when is the most popular time in your diary? And they didn't know. And I said, is it around Saturday afternoon? Maybe. He said, yeah, that's it, Saturday. I said, when's the least popular time? Didn't really know. I said, well, maybe a Tuesday afternoon. And I talked to the staff about diary utilization, how you use the staff, how you use the front of the shop, comparison to the side of the shop, how the shop smells, how the office smells, cigarette butts all over the place outside. Whose problem is that? Is that the borough that's looking after it, or is it your problem? It just takes a mop and a bucket and a broom, and already you've made the place a better.
Well, exactly. I go back to the sporting goods days. We had, I think when I was around, we had 9 stores in the Denver area. And the owner would, once a year, switch all the managers for 2 weeks.
Tell me the stories. Good story.
And it wasn't that you were a bad manager. It's just fresh eyes and a fresh store, because you walk in every morning, you're listening to this podcast on your headphones. As you put the key in the door, you turn off the alarm, you turn on the lights, you walk. You don't notice the strings hanging from a sign that you hung up 3 years ago.
A cobweb, something.
Yeah, the leftovers. It's Scotch tape here. I don't know what it might be called there.
Scotch is good. Sellotape. We call it sellotape.
That's left on the window when you took down a sign, a few years ago and didn't clean it off all the way. Those are things that, again, you just look at it with a fresh set of eyes and you're going to notice all that stuff. I was the VP of marketing for a nationwide chain of jewelry stores in between these two. And the very first meeting, I'd been there for, I want to say, a little over a month, was all the managers flew in from all over the country, and they were giving their shopping reports. And it was, this store does this wrong, and this store does this wrong. And I thanked them all, and I said, this could be my last day here because I haven't discussed this with the owner. But when we meet again in 3 months, I don't want to hear what everybody does wrong, because I bet you I could walk in your stores and find a list a mile long of things you're doing that are incorrect. I want to know what your competitors are doing right, what ideas you're going to steal from them, make them yours, because if you do that to every competitor, nobody can beat you.
So if you're watching this, you're probably hearing that Daniel has a gift, a true gift for marketing, seeing maybe what's not obvious to others. So you go from there. And when did the podcast start? When did you have you've literally interviewed everyone in the industry. I don't think you've left anyone out.
Lots to still go, but yeah.
When did that start?
I started the podcast in 2018, I think. I remember going to Mito, and I would walk into a booth, look at the frames, and I'd say, "Oh, I'd love to have you on my podcast." And the blank looks from every single person is, "What's a podcast?"
You're a real early adopter there. 218. Come on. Just even the setup and the tech and the wave and it was complex back then. Now it's not so easy. This podcast within an hour and a half, I have it up. But I used to do podcasts back then, and they were complex. So I take my hat off to you. Again, you saw what others didn't. So you'd go to these shows, you'd interview the owner of a new frame. It was so clever.
It was fun. I mean, I did one podcast at a show, listened to it when I got back, and said, "Never again. I'll do an interview. Let's chat when you get back," because there's too much. Number one, there's too much ambient noise, and I like the audio to sound good. Number two, I watched you at 100% Optical. I watched you at Opti. People from all over coming by to say hi. So if I'm interviewing you, we're getting interrupted every 30 seconds by someone coming, "Gary!" So
No,
I won't take the time.
I take that as a compliment. I am in your shadow, sir. You know everybody. You go to all the shows. You've been going to the shows for years. Well, you got such a track record of the shows, but we will get into that in a while. Like when you
I should show you all these badges that are hanging on the wall next to me.
Badge of honor, you keep them all to have a look.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of fun. My daughter gives me grief of why I'm keeping all this trash, and still fun.
It's happy memories. I like looking at the lanyards and looking at that. So your relationship with frame distributors must be very strong. You last time I spoke to you, were going to factories and going and looking at how they're manufactured.
Well, when I'm lucky enough to be able to travel a bit, and so when I go to a show overseas, I try and build in a factory tour or two. So it's just great to see not only the amazing beauty of the UK or of Italy or France and Germany and Madrid, etc. I love it, but it's great to see how people build their business, build their craft, and the care and concern they put into designing the eyewear and building this eyewear. I love to watch that, and I learn so much every time I do it.
There's so many things that you've opened up a whole can of worms. There'll be many people that have worked in optics, never even been to a frame manufacturer and seen how it all works and see how they're all put together. Will you give us an insight into what it's like to walk into a company that makes frames, handmade frames, beautiful acetate? We give us an idea of what that's like, because so many people listening now have never even been.
Well, if you are an optician and this is your craft, you've got to do it. You really and truly need to make this visit somewhere at some point in time and see the care that people put into each of their frames. It's just amazing to see. If you go into Feb 31st as an example, and you look
where
at
are they made? I don't know where it's a great brand. I don't know where they're made.
Bologna, Italy. So about 45 minutes outside of Milan. And just these rows of shelves of very thin layers of wood that are already stained, already colored. And that was the magic of Feb 31st is you picked out, you got 27 laminations for your frame. You picked out the colors. I want 3 green on the bottom, then a yellow, then a blue, then 2 blacks, then a white, and then they would glue them, mold them together, cut your shape, put on the temples, ship them out to you. It was your frame. That was Gary's frame.
That is such luxury, such bespoke wear. And I think that we're going, I don't know if you agree with me, the difference between poor middle class and people that are affluent is getting wider and wider. For the affluent, there is money is no objection. But for somebody that is smart with their money, they know that kind of frame will last forever and ever and will carry on going on. A less expensive frame, it's out of shape, it discolors, the luster falls apart. I'm wearing a Kirk and Kirk.
I love Kirk and Kirk.
It's the same as the day I bought it. It looks great.
And they're not so, you have to learn how to adjust those, and not that you had to learn much.
Really? No, I did. Jason told me a completely new way of adjusting glasses, and I always do it his way that he taught me. And if you sell frames like this, you should at least ask how you adjust them, because lots get broken.
You need to ask how to do it right for every brand, for every model, for everything new you bring in, because it just adds to your toolkit.
Without a doubt. So those that are listening and say they are new to, they've been working for other people for years and they want to break out, they've never picked up a marketing book, what advice would you give them if they're listening now and we want their success? So what are like your tips for marketing if you're just starting out and you don't want to go down the chain route, you don't want to franchise, you just like, I want to be independent, I'm going to go my own way? What advice would you give?
Well, I think the first thing every business person, whether you're an optometrist or an optician, should do, spend 5 minutes, I think it's 10 minutes. Watch the Simon Sinek video from a TED Talk I want to say it was in Portland. It was a TEDx. And he boiled it down to people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And it is such a powerful, powerful talk. And again, it doesn't matter whether you are selling an exam or you're selling eyewear. It's that part goes for everybody. So that's how you start with the marketing. I think if you're opening a shop, you want to be inspirational and aspirational. So you're going to, who do you want to sell to? Do you want to sell to yourself? Because I've helped numerous optical shops open. That's what I was doing before I was a journalist. I was a consultant. And I had to warn every single buyer, stop buying what you like, start buying what your customers will like. Because otherwise you're going to have a lot of inventory sitting in your personal drawers at home.
Well, in these offices and these doctors or optometrists, I always leave it to my lead salesperson, the person that's at the front. Because when they, if you're choosing the glasses, there's no responsibility on their side. Because they're usually in a room. They're testing the eyes, and it's the main salesperson. I always try and get the team involved in buying.
I like the idea. The team is perfect because it can't be just your lead optician, because we all have our own prejudices. We all have our own likes and dislikes. I have a few pair, but I'm not a huge metal fan, just personally.
That's fine.
Music or frames. But I love chunky acetate. That's my deal. But I also have to realize as a buyer, there aren't a lot of customers who are big on chunky acetates. I have to have something for all of my customers.
Do you know what was a big revelation for me? Is when I opened my first opticians independently in 2004. And because I'm there, like you're in the eye of the storm, you don't realize. I think a couple of years down, I thought I'm going to take a stock check of my sizes and what I've got in male, unisex, and feminine. And I hardly had any men's frames. And I thought, well, this is not good. Having that data, I speak to a lot of opticians that are still new, and all their profit is in draws. Too much overstock. This is a problem as well. So your stock will make you or break you, without a doubt. How many rimless you've got, Supra, plastic. Do you have anything in an upswept shape or anything in the store that's green? And when you start looking at that, it really opens your eyes.
I think a lot of shops have this tendency of, oh, this P3 shape in blue sells so well, and then they end up buying it from 5 different vendors. It's like, why? Why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense. You get caught up in those emotions. So data is very important, and you have to be very controlled. You need to pay attention to what you buy. You need to pay attention to what you sell. I wrote an article recently, and this was prompted by the owner of an optical company, who said the thing that drives her nuts at every show is people walk in, established customers, and after everyone says their hellos, the first thing out of their mouth is, "What's new?" And it drives her nuts, and she's right. Because the first thing that should be out of your mouth is, let's talk about what brought us to the dance. We sold 5 of these, 10 of these, 3 of these, 8 of these. Let's get those reordered. Now, what's left in my open to buy, that's when you bring up what's new. Otherwise, you're going to buy all this new stuff that may or may not sell and leave behind what you know works.
So true. And to stick to a budget, like say $50,000 is your stock level. You don't really want to go to 60. Like look at your stock levels and try and stick to it. And if you sell $20,000 worth of frames, then you want to replace that maybe with 15K or so a lot of independents don't really do that, but the chains are experts. They know exactly. And I think the chains are getting stronger and stronger. And the independent market, I'm worried for. How is it in the US with the independent market versus the big chains?
Well, you certainly have private equity over here that's buying up shops left and right. The thing is it's very cyclical. So what's going to happen is all the bad locations that these private equities bought, when those leases come due, they're going to shut them down.
Ow.
And it's unfortunate, but they're going to end up putting out of work a lot of very good people. And those are the people who are going to sit back and go, you know what? I can do this. And I'm going to open up a shop in a good location. And I'm going to start off, and they're not starting off with $25,000, $50,000 budgets. They're starting off with 10. And little by little, they're going to build a new independent shop of great lines that most people have never heard of.
And that is a perfect, Daniel, those people, watch out for them because they're hungry and they're committed and they'll do it. You know, you're a real inspiration to me and I'm sure to everyone in the optical industry. You always smile. You've always got time for others. You're a lovely, lovely man. Wherever we meet in the world, you're there. And I just would like to understand your mindset because you see, what success is the way we're tuned in, the way that the way our character is, the way we're brought up by the people we surround ourselves with. And you've been through so many health challenges. You still stand up. You're still smiling. You're still there. And you truly inspire others and you project kindness. Everyone you speak to just absolutely loves you. Like, I've got multiple sclerosis. I don't make any secret of that. when you're diagnosed with something like that, it really makes you reflect about a big picture. Stop worrying about the small stuff, but your own journey and the way your mindset is. Would you mind sharing? Because maybe
I'm happy to. I have recurring skin cancer. That's not melanoma. I'm not at death's doorstep by any stretch of the imagination, but I've had numerous Mohs surgeries on my head, and in one interim break, because of be examined a couple times a year, the cancer had progressed down under the top layer of skin behind my eyebrow and into and behind my eye. So my right eye is encased in cancer. It's not invaded the eye. It's not invaded the brain. I just had an MRI a couple weeks ago. The cancer is in stasis. It's still there, but it's not growing, so I'm very happy. But yeah, ironically enough, being in the optical business, I have cancer that involves my eye.
wow. And your attitude, you were looking after grandchildren the other day when I spoke to you. Like, it's just, how do you stay positive? Is it the people you surround yourself with? Because I saw something interesting today, and it truly is that old saying: if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. Did you just land this situation's positive mindset? Can you share? Because if I can, even just one person listening, if you can shift your mindset to something more positive, you will be happier. It's not rocket science.
Well, the classic movie Gone with the Wind, you always remember the line, tomorrow's another day. So even if you have a bad day, screw that, get some sleep. The next day is going to be great because you're going to make it great. And yeah, I think even the most positive people in the world have bad days. I get it. We all do. But you get up and you want to make a difference in this world. I want to make a difference for my family. I want to make a difference for my industry. I want to make a difference for my world. If it's this much, great. But
Well, you're a
at
high.
my age, I realize I don't have much. I don't have forever left. But I hope it's a few decades.
Many years. Look, you're an overachiever, and one of the traits of overachievers is that they bounce back into a positive attitude. You've shaped our industry. You've driven it forward. You've shed light on things that maybe nobody would ever know. When you think about how many episodes have you had of your interviews? It's a lot.
A couple hundred.
A few hundred,
I
right?
lost track.
There's a fair few. You've interviewed a lot of people over the time. So is there a few that stand out in your mind? We don't have to have favorites, but a few that you think, wow, that I wasn't expecting that from that interview.
I have had some remarkable interviews with some very remarkable people who. One of the nice things about a podcast is you get the time to get to know someone a little more than you do, 5 minutes of the show, where they're trying to write business, and those shows are expensive, so I have to give them that latitude, which is another reason I don't do a podcast at a show. But you get to know someone a little bit and get to learn about their children, their families, what moves them. That they love to go skiing in the winter. They love to go hiking. I there's a PR manager for an optical trade show who does this hiking throughout Europe that I am just amazed that this man has this stamina and these are not day hikes. These are week-long hikes across the country, and I'm in awe of him. So
Well, maybe your time will come for that. But are there? is there any way you could share some of the ones that just pop up in your head, who you've interviewed, groundbreaking people? Just, I can't expect, you've literally done hundreds, but there are a few that jump out in your mind. And then if you're listening to this and you've never heard the Optical Journal, please go back and look at the bank. What I'm looking for is for you to recommend a few where somebody should start.
Oh, honestly, there's so many. I mean, I've talked to people who head up vision charities. I'll highlight one.
Thank you.
Robert Bell, who unfortunately passed away from a very surprising lung cancer. He wasn't a smoker.
Even more reason to listen to it then.
Passed away a couple years ago. This man was such a brilliant sales trainer because it wasn't about sales. And such a charitable man. He ran the vision services for a charity called Project Homeless Connect, which is this huge event that takes place. It started in San Francisco. It takes place 4 times a year there. They take up a whole auditorium, and they provide every service you can think of for homeless people, job counseling, barbershops, physicals, dental care. He turned vision into the biggest area of that entire event. And these people were not given $5 readers. They were getting LaFonts, Barton Pereira, Fossa, you name it. These were the greatest brands. And he promoted all of that. And I asked him, don't these people sell them to fuel their habits? And he's like, no, this is their most prized possession. They get good eyewear. And sure enough, I would donate my time and fly out to San Francisco for this. And you put a pair of readers on somebody and they start crying. Not everyone.
I had that.
I remember a gentleman who cried because he's like, I can fill out a job application now.
I had that experience a few weeks ago. There was a guy, he's a rugby player, and he's now, because of all the head injuries, he's got dementia.
Ooh.
And what a talented guy. And he's a photographer. And I brought him to my shop, or not my shop, somebody's shop, to take some photography. I said to him, he wouldn't take any money. I said, let me make you a pair of glasses. And he said, fine. And the look on his face to have something that isn't just a cheap run-of-the-mill thing, it was wonderful. That charity, I get that. Because when you've got something nice, you look after it. I never wash my cars, because I always get an average kind of car and run it into the ground. We just bought a new car. I waxed it this morning. I look after it. Like, if you've got a good pair of glasses, you look after them. It just goes hand in hand. I'm going to ask you to look into the future, Daniel, with a crystal ball. New York, Las Vegas, those were legacy events. And since COVID, things have changed. What's your opinion on trade shows and how we're going to be doing this going forward? Because the attendance is dropping. I know that around the world. Maybe not so much for Silmo, but these little fringe ones are getting less and less. If you look in that crystal ball, how are things going to evolve?
Well, how I would like them to evolve, or how they will evolve, or
both. We'll take both. Stories.
Because I've had discussions with our big shows here, and unfortunately, I think they fall on deaf ears. This year's show, which was in Orlando, was a remarkable success. It's still a shadow of what it used to be, but it was much better than I thought it was going to be, and so I congratulate them. But here in the States, for an example, we have a lot of regional shows. It costs a lot of money to travel. It costs a lot of money to bring your staff to New York for 4 days, or to Las Vegas for 4 days. It used to be you could go to Las Vegas, it was $200 round trip, and you could get a hotel for a nice hotel, 60, 70, $80 a night. Now it's $400 a night for a decent hotel, 300. It's $400 to fly, and I'm less than 2 hours away. So it's gotten expensive to bring your staff. So now these people are not experiencing this breadth of our industry because they're not exposed to these big shows. But luckily, we have a lot of regional shows. So there's a friend of mine runs a show, starts the year off, called The Eyeball in Palm Springs, California. It's great to be in Palm Springs in early February, where it might be. Are you on Celsius or Fahrenheit?
I'll do both.
So it's here you are mid-February and it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit today.
T-shirt weather.
It's there's a show in New York where Vision Expo used to be. All the independents are there. There's a couple of shows that do wonderfully well, but they don't have the training, the education, that continuing education that the big shows provide. They have a few classes you can take. And I still recommend that everyone go to at least once one of these big shows. You got to get to Silmo. You got to get to Mito. You got to even Opti and.
Do you know what? I don't know if I've ever shared this. I don't know if I ever shared this with you. You know what I used to do? I used to go to the Chinese. First, I'd start with the luxury brands. I'd see the $200, $300 frames, and I'd see them, and they look beautiful. Then I'd go and find the factory they were made in, and they just order them there. So these places are in zones. We talk about Paris, Milan. Literally, if you cannot see everything in 2 days. It's so huge. But where I would always start is the luxury end, because then you're picking up trend. You're seeing where the innovation is. The Chinese, the Hong Kong, the stuff from Malaysia and South Korea. There's just a replica of what that is. And you can disagree with me. I don't mind you challenging me. That's where I would start and then work my way outwards. I wouldn't start at the mass-produced stuff. Figure out what's on trend. There was a trend of bamboo. There might be a trend of wood. There's a trend of color. You'll pick up something and you'll start to see this trend moving on. It was shallow in the 80s and then it went big, and we're going to see shapes that are coming back into trend. When you take this back home, you can say, I bought this. I went on reconnaissance to find this. And your patients will feel really special that you traveled a long way to pick up this very special piece. How do you do the shows? When you go in, how do you maneuver? I know you probably got lots of appointments. You have to keep them. Where do you start?
I do very much like you. I mean, I'm looking at certainly the higher end lines first. I don't set a lot of appointments the very first day personally, because the first day is usually saying hello to everybody. It's catching up with so many friends. But you do want to see, where are the movers and shakers? Where are the innovators going? And then you start going down the line and looking at what can sell, because there's only a few lucky shops who are going to sell $400 and $500 wholesale frames all day long. Most of us will have a high-end line. We'll have a lot of good upper middle, some middle, and maybe one or two lower end lines. So you're not going to spend forever on these very exclusive high end lines, but you look at where those trends are going so that you have the knowledge of what is coming in the following years.
Can you predict AI glasses like the Meta, and because Meta's cornered the market, and I don't know if you know this, they've tripled production like Optical. They're so popular.
They are, but it's still a niche. It's still a very unique niche. What I have seen, and I can't remember the brand off the top of my head, so pardon me, but I saw a company who made a acetate front because all the technology is in the temples. So they made a front that you can change out and put the temples into this front. So the front had the holes for the camera, that your temples don't change, but your look can. And I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was
I've seen
right
those.
on target.
I've seen those around, so I love that. Your prediction for the future, and you're fascinating. I could talk to you all day because you're a storyteller as well. You take us to the shows. So I'd love to hear your future of where you see optics going. But before we do that, I don't know if you can do this. Remember, go around the world. So the first one's in Munich. That one's in January. It's cold.
First one's in Dusseldorf.
There you go. First one's in Dusseldorf. All right. I've not been to that one.
Opti is the first major trade show of the year. It varies each year because there is a construction show on the odd number year. So it takes.
So Dusseldorf is first.
18 halls?
Yeah.
Opti takes 4. And it's a huge show, but it's 4 halls. So they get pushed back. So this coming January, Opti will be at the end of January.
Wow.
Then the very next weekend will be Nito in Milan.
London.
And then, so that's early February. Then it's Palm Springs. Then it's 100% in London again.
Wow.
Then the very next week is the Loft and Icon in New York City. Then the week after that is Vision Expo, the big American show. This coming year it will be in Las Vegas. In 2028 it'll be in New York. Then the week after that, there's a few weeks break. And then there's a few regional shows starting up after that in March. So yeah, it's a busy time of year or at the beginning of the year.
Hong Kong. What's the Hong Kong show like? I know you love going to that one.
Hong Kong show is it's an interesting show. I love the show. The base level, the first floor, is all the Chinese manufacturing, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Hong Kong manufacturing as well. That is where everything is made. That's where you buy your parts. You look at acetate, you look at hinges, you look at cases, and so on and so forth. Then you go up to the 5th level, where it's a much more, because it's a huge convention center, but it's a curated independent show. There's brands from France, there's a lot of Japanese brands, etc. I gave a talk on eyewear trends there last year. That was fun.
You must hold the record for the most traveled person in optics, seeing the most shows, spoken on the most stages as well. Because you're good. If you're listening to this and you get a chance to hear Daniel speak, very, very powerful speaker. Always go away with 10, 15 nuggets. Have you any desire to do Australia, to do New Zealand, to do Canada?
I would love to. Oh yeah, no, I would love to. This coming year, there's a possibility I will circumnavigate the globe in November because it'll be coming from Colorado to Hong Kong, and then a week later is the Silmo Istanbul show where I'm speaking this November there. So, and that's a very, very good show. I was surprised.
I've been to the Dubai show, quite small, just starting out, but I can imagine the Turks from Turkey are very stylish people. I can only imagine really stylish frames in Istanbul.
It has tremendous style, and it also has a lot of bargain frame companies. The economy there is not great.
The economy is not great.
Inflation.
Yeah.
So it is an alternative supplier to China. If you're looking for
There you go.
stainless steel and aluminum, etc. It has quite a Russian presence because since the Russian invasion, it's been harder for them to travel to the European shows. Not a problem to go to Turkey. So
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Do you want to just give us a few predictions of what you see coming down the line? And if you've been watching this and enjoying this, please connect with Daniel. He is on all the social medias, LinkedIn, you'll see him present. Make a comment. Please. What's your prediction?
My prediction is this market is going to continue to grow, and we're going to get some wonderful people asking some wonderful questions who are going to make this industry just even more amazing than you or I could possibly imagine. Because this is an industry that once you dip your toe in, you want to dive in.
There's nothing like it, healthcare and fashion all together, and we're bringing people vision. It's amazing.
It's the one medical area that is so unique because, if you break your arm, the doctor's going to say, do you want a pink cast, a green cast, a white cast, or a black cast? The doctor will never say, do you want a Calvin Klein cast? Not yet. Maybe someday.
No, they will not. And
that's what we offer.
And maintaining the frames is a skill in itself. Do you see the inside the testing room, inside the doctor's room, technology with Dr. Noon, eyes and heart? I can see that just getting bigger. I can see color vision deficiency. This is something I'm passionate about, that growing. Can you predict any trends happening down the line within the room?
That is the one thing that I am so excited for AI to be a part of, because as anyone in optics knows, a good optometrist is going to tell that you're diabetic before your general practitioner even knows. There's so many diseases that an optometrist can see in those building stages when you get a yearly exam. AI can do that even before the optometrist sees it. And so we're going to be able to tell cancer. We're going to be able to tell all kinds of diseases looking in the eye. And I'm very excited for what AI does.
Dementia.
I'm less excited for AI designed eyewear. It'll come. It'll be helpful. But in the medical end, I think there's a lot of promise there.
This has been an absolute treat. If you've listened to this and you've enjoyed it as much as me, please share and tell a friend. You're a living legend, sir. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
I am so honored to be a friend of yours, to be an acquaintance, to be a compatriot. It's such a joy to see you when I do see you, and I love
what I do. I'm the same as you. I don't even feel I'm at work. The other day I walked past a really big gentleman, and he was wearing some really lovely glasses, but they were too small for him. And I just happened to have my little toolkit, and I fixed them, and he couldn't believe it. I was off duty. I can't help it. I think that if you're passionate about what you do, it just shows through everything. And I admire you for driving our industry forward. And I cannot wait to see you at the next show.
Thank you so very much. I'm honored, and it's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
I hope anybody listening has got lots out of this. That's a wrap, and this is a pod. It's done.